So as a child growing up in Japan, my mother would read to us all the time Japanese folk tales. And I loved these stories so much. But there was one I was especially obsessed with, and it was called Urashima Taro, which means kind of beach boy who loves the beach, something like that. And it's the story of a humble little fisherman, and he's young. And one day he's walking along the beach, and he comes across a group of children who are torturing a turtle, a sea turtle. And he is very unhappy about this. And so he there are different versions of the story, but in one of the versions, he throws rocks at them to make them leave the turtle alone. He shoos them away. And the turtle speaks to him and says, "Thank you so much. That was so nice of you. I appreciate it." And he said, "As a reward, I'd like to take you down to the bottom of the ocean and show you my palace where I live." And so Urashima Taro climbs on his back, and he takes him down, down, down to the bottom of the sea. And there's a magical thing that happens, which is when he's with the turtle, he can breathe underwater. So they go down there, and the turtle shows him this beautiful palace where there's a princess who lives there. And the princess and Urashima Taro fall in love. And he lives there with her. And in the book that I had, there were beautiful illustrations of fish dressed up in kimonos dancing, and great delicacies on platters. And, it's just like this heavenly place to be. A little bit like the lotus eaters in the Odyssey, where, you go to a place that makes you forget the world. And so Urashima Taro lives there for what he thinks is many afternoons or many days. And finally, he begins to realize he misses his mother, he misses his father, he misses his land. And so he tells the princess he must go back. And she begs him to stay. And he says, no, I must go back. So it's interesting because I could look at this story from so many different angles. The ocean representing the shadow or the unconscious, the sort of forgetfulness is the way our whole lives can go by, pursuing some kind of dream or being lost in pleasure or being lost in the sort of material world. Anyway, she says to him, don't go. And I must go. So she gives him a box that's tied with a very special string. And she said, no matter what happens, never open this box. You know where that's going to go. So anyway, the turtle takes him back and deposits him on the beach where he had picked him up. And Urashima Taro goes home to his house, but it's completely different. His parents aren't there. All the landscape is changed. He doesn't recognize his town at all. And as he begins to talk to people, he realizes nobody knows who he is. He's been completely forgotten, and that actually hundreds of years have passed. And so while he was dreaming away in pleasure and under the sea, 300 years passed. Everybody was gone. So he goes and sits on the beach. He's very sad. He gazes out at the ocean, and he remembers the box. And so he takes it out of his kimono, and he opens the box, and a huge white cloud appears out of the box and sort of falls around him. And as it falls around him, he ages all 300 years or whatever in just a few moments. And he's a very, very old, wizened man with white hair, and he's all crumpled up. And then in some of the versions, he then disappears into a puff of smoke. And so I've been thinking a lot about this story since I got to Japan a couple of weeks ago. And, it's the first time I've been back in 60 years. And part of me is still a little tiny girl who lived here. And part of me is this older lady. And it reminds me of Urashima Taro because, I wonder if quantum time really is real, which I do believe it is. We're living all of those existences at once. So when I was that little girl who fell in love with that story, I was also who I am now, and also whoever I will be in however much longer time I have. And so that experience of quantum time that he has, where everything converges all at once like that, and then disappearing into that puff of smoke, I think is just super beautiful. Well, hello from Kyoto. I hope you guys are doing well. That wasn't a past life regression story, but it was about time, and it was about how things pass us by. So, I hope everyone's doing well, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.